Hello beautiful people and welcome back to another fantastic episode in which we're gonna address the Navi meta. Not just that, but we also gonna analyze some of the possible best matches out there for the Navy. And we wanna see the performance because we yet again wanna use this opportunity of the Alliance Honor match in order to highlight how these matches are actually performing. So let me give you a very hot tip when it comes down to this episode. Even if Navy is not your main match, you definitely want to see this episode. Even if Navy is not even your second main match, you definitely want to watch this episode because you will gonna get surprised here and there by the numbers. And I'm telling you this, why? Because I certainly got surprised by this. So let's start first by announcing what matches are you actually going to see in this episode. I'm going to show you Stroy, Lila and Crimson, all with level 5. I'm going to show you Stroy, Lila and Zen, all with level 5. Granted, we have an episode on this channel which compares directly Zen to Mr. Crimson, but how should I put this without revealing too much? A small Chinese bird told me it's actually super worth it to have another look at Mr. Zen, since this episode you have on the screen was actually the evaluation from last week. So what other matches are we gonna see? We wanna see Stroy, Lila and Miss Mapleine, all with level 5 exclusive skills. We also wanna see Poe with level 7 versus Lila level 5 and Crimson level 5. And of course, we also want to see the performance of Stroy with Zen and Crimson, all with level 5. But first of all, let's start actually by me explaining why have I chosen such an opponent hero setup. Because you see there Springfield, you see there Megatron, you also see Mr. Optimus Prime, and we all know by now this is no longer the meta of the tanks, because these three heroes are expired, but I haven't chose them specifically for that, but for a different reason, to be the opponent for all these tests. Because as you know, Optimus Prime has only one attack from his proc and he doesn't even hit you in the first round. We have Mr. Megatron, which has only one attack coming from one proc, just one single hit. And of course we have Springfield here. In this case he has a level 9, which means in other words every single of his procs has 2 to maximum 4 attacks. Why is this so important? Because these attacks from the heroes are the ones taking off the heavy armor shields. In other words, there is no better setup to give Mapleine the chance to shine if she chooses to do so. What else is super important in this video is to mention, of course, you see I'm playing versus the tanks and I'm using exclusively only Navy units. Let's have a look at the setup right here, because this setup is literally the last setup I have tested, which is Stroy, Zen and Crimson, all with level 5. So you're gonna see Stroy with level 5, Zen with level 5, Crimson with level 5. The gear remains the same. This is literally the heavy trooper which I'm using for Navy and I'm going to use of course for all the matches. Of course I have to mention that all the perks will always going to be on every single of these heroes you see being tested and of course set for Navy. And let's have a look right here at my Navy stats. This is going to play an important role once we reach the second part of this video, in which we are going to talk about the Navy meta. So here are the stats right there. The last very important thing I have to mention here is to pay attention at the march size. So I have a march size of 272 units, while my opponent has a march size of 362 units. In other words, the battle reports are going to show you the percentage of units left, and you can imagine that 1% of the opponent march is 3.62 units, while 1% from my march it's representing only 2.72 units. And this information is important in order for this average performance of these marches to actually make sense. So yeah, let's start directly with Stroy, Lila and Crimson. All of them are with level 5 exclusive skill. And have a look at the battle results here. Now, what you're gonna see is the results are sorted from the best performance up there to the worst performance down here. And you're gonna see me in all these battle reports actually marking a lot of fields in green, which means also, in other words, I actually won those battles. And that's why it was important for me to show you the difference in the march size, because this percentage here represents the amount of units. So how many are they? So the best idea which I came up with is, for example, you see me in the first 7 battles, I literally won, and I had a certain amount of percentage of units left. So I took that number, I multiply it with 2.72, which represents 1% of my march size units, and then divided everything by 3.62, which represents 1% of the opponent's march, in order to come up with a viable negative value, because of course we need that in order to do the average of all these 40 battle reports to have a better idea how the march has performed. So yes, from this perspective, what you're seeing here, I have won 7 battles out of 40. The best performance was minus 27%, which again, the lower the number is, the better the performance. And of course, the worst performance was 62% units left on my opponent. Good, now let's start to make this video very, very interesting, because a small Chinese bird told me, how about you look again into Mr. Zen, since it has been a while since you tested him last week. Therefore, the next match coming up on your screen is Stroy, Lila and Zen, all with level 5 exclusive skill. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I promised you, you're gonna be surprised every now and then on this video, because I know I was. And you're seeing here from 40 battles in total, I literally succeed to win 11 of them. Which means, in other words, we are looking right now on the screen on the difference between Crimson and Zen, which seems to be kind of different right now, if you know what I mean. The best performance I have reached was minus 39%, and the best performance was 59% still left on my opponent, which brings us to a very awesome average of 19% performance for this match. And yes, you can see on the screen that Stroy, Lila and Crimson, all with level 5, had 28% average performance. Now, for those of you out there which discovered my channel extremely late, or simply you don't want to listen, yeah, let's have a look at Maple. And that's why the next match we're gonna have a look at right now is Stroy, Lila and Maple. And here are the numbers on the screen. First of all, this is not a shock, even though the opponents are extremely outdated, like Mr. Springfield, Optimus Prime and Megatron, and not having a lot of hits from their procs, which can literally take a lot of these heavy shields down. In here, you won't see a single negative number, because you guessed it, I haven't won a single battle, and therefore the best performance I have reached is my opponent still having 30% of the units left, while the worst performance, my opponent won and still had 75% of his units. That brings us to a whopping average performance of this match of 55%. Now, have a look for yourself at the values you have now on the screen if you don't want to believe me when it comes down to Mapleine. Good. The next match we want to have a look at is, of course, would Paul, but this time level 7, would replace Stroy with level 5 exclusive skill. We definitely analyzed Paul level 5 versus Stroy level 5, and that didn't change. Stroy is still slightly better. But let's have a look at Paul level 7. And here are the battle results, beautiful people. And you see a lot of green fields marked. In other words, from 40 battles, I literally won 36. The best performance being minus 48%, and the worst performance being my opponent still having 35 units left on his march, aka in other words also winning. And we are reaching an average, which is, by the way, negative right now, minus 25%. Which is, yeah, a very important piece of information, because not just me, also Mr. Colossus and some other friends have brought Paul to level 7, yet still are actually a little bit struggling right now to find the exact spot for him. So this is definitely a very awesome position for him. And since we included Zen in this video, how about we have a look again at Stroy, Zen and Crimson? In other words, two heroes with a very high HP enhancement buff which can stack with each other. In other words, is it enough to beat the indestructible buff from Lila? And here are the numbers on the screen, and have a look for yourself, because I know a lot of people out there said, theoretically speaking, such a high amount of HP enhancement coming from both of them must be enough to beat the indestructible buff, but look at what the numbers are saying. I have won 6 battles in total from 40. Have a look at Stroy, Lila and Crimson. I have won there actually 7 battles. Or have a look at Stroy, Lila and Zen. I literally won 11 battles. But in this case, only won 6 of them. And of course, the best performance was minus 32%. And the worst performance possible, my opponent was left with 65 units on his march. Which brings us to an average of positive 33%. And yeah, right about now, guys, this is what the numbers are telling. And I think it's a very important piece of information, as I cannot think of a better way to describe what hero combinations are good and which hero combinations are not that good, or in other words, which hero should you definitely avoid. And I'm sorry for this, I have nothing against Mapleine, I just simply am allergic to heroes which are performing very bad while costing the same amount of money. So therefore, here's Mapleine on the screen, and I'm also applying a fat X on her, because the hero has a unique design but doesn't have the requirements in order to perform properly. In other words, her skill and her design is simple science fiction. Good, beautiful people, these are the results. I strongly advise you right now to pause the video, take a screenshot of these numbers. Absolutely a great piece of information. But now let's move forward and speak about the Navy meta right now. And as always, we want to start with the offense buffing hero. Now here we have to make a difference. When we are talking from the level 5 exclusive skill, which you either have or either aim to get it, sure, you can use Asuka. But as we said in the planes video or in the tanks video, this is by far the lowest offense buffing capability. Sure, it will work, but not as good as the rest of the heroes which I'm putting now on the screen. For example, yes, Gypsy will gonna work absolutely fantastic as an offense buffing hero. Also Mr. Po, there is no question about it. But when it comes down to the best performance as an offense buffing hero, there is no way around Stroy, which is a little bit older but still does a fantastic job. Okay, let's move to the second position in the march, which is the reason why I also showed you my Navy stats. In other words, if your stats are equal to this or even lower, trust me, there is no way around you using a hero with an indestructible buff. It's simply not gonna work, and you only have to choose between the two options. Listen to me right now and don't invest your universal hero charts in something which is not that great, or do that, lose those universal charts because you want to learn it the hard way. So from this perspective, we have Striker, Shinji, Mr. Duke, but also we have Lila. And of course, that's one of the reasons why I kept Lila in this configuration, because this hero is absolutely great, far better than Duke, there is no question about it. And on top of this, Lila is not a collaboration event hero. In other words, the game will often give you the possibility to unlock her. Maybe you're lucky with a lucky treasure, which means just gems, or maybe just money. The hero is absolutely fantastic. Yes, works only for Navy, but we are talking about the Navy right here. So from this perspective, my preference and my recommendation when it comes down to the Navy and a hero with 2 rounds of indestructible buff, Lila is absolutely fantastic. And of course, doesn't mean that Shinji or Striker or Duke won't work. They will, but Lila is the best choice. Good. When it comes down to the third hero, again, we have a lot of possibilities. Let's start, of course, with Mr. Po. Yes, you can use him as a support hero. You can also use Gypsy as a support hero. You can use Asuka as a support hero. You can use Mr. Crimson as a support hero. And of course, you can use Mr. Zen as a support hero. Absolutely crazy, especially if you think a second about the numbers which this video have provided you. Absolutely great. What you should definitely not do is to use Mapleine. In other words, yes, if you have her right now, we are trying to work on this to convince the developers or to tell them exactly what hero Maple needs in order to be rehabilitated in the same way like Brunhild was rehabilitated with Nili. There is no such hero right now to help her close the gap between her science fiction design and reality. In other words, do not 5-star Mapleine right now. Maybe later on she will gonna be good if we get a hero which can actually help her, but don't stress yourself about it. This is also a hero which is not a collaboration hero, meaning you're gonna have plenty of opportunities to unlock her just in case one day she will gonna perform crazy due to other heroes being implemented. So anyways, beautiful people, this was the episode regarding the Navy meta. Again, we have a ton of possibilities to find different combinations, strong combinations for your Navy. What you should do is, of course, write in the comments, I have these certain heroes, I would like to improve my Navy, what are your suggestions? And I will gonna try my best to answer that as soon as possible. By the way, a huge hint right here, if you one of these players which already have such a knowledge like I have or even higher than me, then please give me a hand if you have the time and answer such questions from the players in order to help them as fast as possible. So yeah, beautiful people, I hope this video helped you guys. Please take a moment of your time to check if you are subscribed to this channel. This is absolutely super important because we are on our way now to 12,000 subscribers. And of course, we want to reach a far higher number than that in order to show River Game we are very well organized. Beautiful people, thank you for watching and don't forget to see me in the next episode. Ciao.